When you really sit down and think about it, week 3 is the perfect time to really start considering making trades in your fantasy football roster. If you're 2-0, like Kobe Bean Bryant said, job's not done. We're not happy at this point. Of course, we love that we're not 1-1 or 0-2, but job's not done. There's still a lot of work to be done. If you're 1-1, you're feeling stagnant and you want a boost. And if you're 0-2, that's okay. Hey, come in off of that ledge. There is a lot of fantasy football left to be played and a lot of time to make adjustments. Today we're going to be talking about those trade players. And when you're trading players, especially if you're somebody that's 0-2, you want to be disciplined about who you trade off your roster and be smart about your offers. You don't want to send out disrespectful offers and have people not wanting to trade with you for the remainder of the year. Start an actual conversation, send a message in the fantasy football app, get somebody's phone number, whatever you got to do, but also be smart with your offers. What is happening? As always, everybody, my name is Dallas Clark. You're here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network watching the Fantasy Football Huddle presented by Danklyfe brand. Let's talk sports and Shank It Golf brand. If you haven't already started to sense the flavor of what today's episode is going to be, we're going to be talking about some trades. It's time to start making some moves, start shaking things up. Don't be complacent. Don't roll over and just let your team run itself into the ground. Be an active owner. Make those moves because, first of all, it's the funnest thing to do in fantasy football, and oftentimes it's the best thing you can do to improve your roster. Not very often are you going to find those waiver wire warriors that will save your team and take you to the playoffs because you ruined your draft or you drafted Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp, and you've been really struggling with the injury bug. That's okay. We can capitalize on some of these players, sell high on some of these players that are really performing well, that we don't expect to continue this trend that they've been on, or players we can buy low on, knowing there are fantasy owners out there that are absolutely furious with some of these players we're going to be talking about today. So fill up your cup, roll something up, and smoke them if you got them. Let's get right into the trade talk. First of all, we're going to start talking with some of the buy low players that we have. First buy low player that I have is going to be Javonte Williams, running back from the Denver Broncos. He looks healthy right now. All the other running backs, Samaje Perine, every other Denver Broncos running back has been getting less and less involvement in these first 2 weeks. It's just a matter of time before Javonte Williams is taking 70% of the opportunities in this running back backfield. Once he finds the end zone, he hasn't scored a touchdown yet in these first 2 weeks, but once he finds the end zone, you're going to see Javonte Williams' value seem like it's a lot bigger than it has been, and it's going to improve once he starts finding that end zone. And this Denver Broncos offense has not been absolutely terrible like it was last season, as we predicted here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network. So you can definitely send out a nice mid-level offer and get Javonte Williams, who I think, bold prediction for you, is going to be the game breaker at the end of the season. I think weeks 10 through the playoffs, Javonte Williams is going to be that player that boosts somebody in your league to the fantasy football playoffs. Why not have it be your team? Go buy low on Javonte Williams. Another person I'm buying low on is going to be Jordan Addison from the Minnesota Vikings. I know he's a top 10 wide receiver, so it's hard to say you're buying low on him, but in the first 2 weeks, you're looking at that one really good week performance that he had. Even when you read the outlook on Jordan Addison for this week, he's a flex option. He's a waiver wire target, and he's had lower volume due to being behind KJ Osborne and has still been the 10th scoring wide receiver on ESPN over the first few weeks in standard platforms. Being across from the best wide receiver in fantasy football right now and in football is honestly probably the best thing that could happen for Jordan Addison. He's the best number 2 wide receiver that the Minnesota Vikings have had in years, and he's extremely good at football. They drafted him in the second round because they're tired of playing the Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne game. They want a solid number 2 wide receiver, and they have one. So why not add one to your roster and go get Jordan Addison now before it becomes impossible to get Jordan Addison, because people start to realize how valuable he really is. Another and the last buy low that we're going to have for you today is going to be Joe Mixon from the Cincinnati Bengals. Pretty much any Cincinnati Bengals player right now could be considered a buy low, but I think Joe Mixon is the best and most efficient one you can get out of all of them. The Bengals offense has looked, for lack of better words, sad as hell. Joe Mixon has yet to find the end zone, and that's been one thing that's really kept him from being a solid fantasy football running back. He has been efficient with the ball, bolstering almost 5 yards per carry right now, and the Bengals will improve. If you think this first 2 weeks is going to be the story of the Cincinnati Bengals all year, you're absolutely crazy, or something is in the water in Cincinnati. But Joe Mixon is going to have his opportunities, and now is a good time to grab a low-end running back one that you can add to your roster and really solidify that running back position. Couple sell highs that I have for you. We're going to be talking about Jalen Hurts. I know how you feel with me saying a lot of people's number 1 quarterback prediction for this season, sell him right now. But you look at Jalen Hurts, I know he had a great game this last week, but he's yet to put up 200 yards passing in these first couple of games. Also, one of the things that adds value to him is his running, and he has not been running nearly as much since losing Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator. He had a good performance this last week, and that comes off of 2 1-yard tush-push touchdowns, quarterback sneaks that he got forced in by his offensive line, tight ends, running backs, the entire roster behind him, pushing him into the end zone. Those were 2 easy walk-in touchdowns, and I know he's going to get a lot more of those this season, but that's what saved his week this last week in week 2, was those 2 tush-push touchdowns. He's going to be a quarterback one, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people were predicting him to be the number 1 quarterback this season, and I'm starting to believe that that's not going to be the case. If you can get a Tua Tagovailoa and a number 2 wide receiver for Jalen Hurts, that's definitely an offer I'd be considering. Another sell high I have for you is going to be Rachaad White from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He played one of the worst rushing defenses in the league this last week. He had 17 carries, 70 yards, 5 receptions, 30 yards. That's exactly what you expect him to do. He did his job this week against one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. If you think that he can continue to do that and provide that production against better defenses this season, by all means, keep that man. But I don't believe in that. You got Philadelphia, New Orleans, and then a bye week. So he's got 2 bad matchups and then a bye week. Right now is a good time to get out of the Rachaad White wagon and get into a different situation, and that may be a little bit better, and especially over the next 3 weeks, especially if you're one of those teams that's really needing those wins, because right now we're about to approach that meat and potatoes where you're really going to decide your fate over these next few weeks on how the remainder of your season is going to go. One last sell high I have for you. I'm selling high on DJ Moore. He's really good at football. Unfortunately, Justin Fields is not consistent enough and not good enough of a passer to provide value for DJ Moore. He was 6 of 7 this last week with his completions, and he had 104 yards. Justin Fields barely has thrown over 200 yards in both weeks 1 and weeks 2. He's got 3 tough matchups coming around the corner with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos, and the Washington Commanders. If you can still sell DJ Moore at wide receiver 2 value, at, top 24 value, then please, by all means, do it and improve your team. Let me know if you have any trade questions, any stardom, sit-em questions, any how do you feel about this player questions. I'd love to answer everybody's questions if I can on the videos. We also have a live recording Sunday mornings, 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, and you can come in at that time. It's going to be a small episode, nothing very long, not wasting your time. We're just going to be answering some of y'all questions, talking about some of those last minute injuries that happened while you were sleeping overnight, things of that nature, and helping you set your lineup and finding success for this week. Because this week we're going 1-0 like we do every week. That's going to be it for me here today on the Huddle Chat Sports Network. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Make sure you hit the subscriptions bar down below and the notifications bell, and I'll see you on Sunday in the live episode. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Keep that chin up and that attitude down. I'll see y'all next time. Holla.
Bye.